And we are live.
We are live. How exciting for all of us. Hello, everybody.
Hello, chat room.
All right, Alan, hit it.
Your turn,
now
Alan.
Hit it.
There you go.
There's
all
the
right.
roll call.
On cue. Well done.
All right. Let's see. We've got Alan and Seamus and Kevin and Jason and Frank and Jill and John and Mike and Sandy and Steve. And sadly, no Wheels this week. No Rick this week. Drunk Nick Nolte might be here. That's
Possibly.
Always good. Showing in the sidebar. Who else we got? We got, let's see. That's John. I already called out John. Let me know when Rose sneaks in. And Quaid.
Is Wabbit Magic here?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm Pickle Rick? That I don't get. So, Seamus, show everybody the Quaid.
Oh, such a cutie. Is that a relatively recent photo, Seamus? Or has he grown quite a bit since then? Five days. Okay. That's pretty recent. Probably hasn't grown too much in 5 days.
Yeah. Such a cute puppy. All right. Well, we will look forward to him growing up here. So let's see. I'm going to start dropping some stuff in here. 9 weeks. So you aren't getting any sleep.
Yeah.
It's like having a new baby. All right. Let me close my door here.
Well, thank you. I congratulate all of you for figuring out daylight saving time ending. Good job.
Yeah, the lack
we
of
may
it.
be missing a few who haven't.
Yep.
Actually, I guess that's just in the U.S., right? We just did that in the U.S. I think Europe has already changed back to standard. Is that right?
Yeah, they did it a week ago.
And that makes it convenient.
John. Yep. They went at the regular time. We're the ones who are mutants that managed to make it. If daylight saving time was ever bad before, now it's worse.
I think we just stay on one, stick with it.
Yeah, really. Drunk Nick Nolte is here.
Ah.
It's
excellent.
in metric over here. Nice, Seamus. I love it. All right. Well, I think I should start recording.
Yes.
So I'm going to mute Steve. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and this is show number 861. Stopping for a quick chapter mark. Wait, let's save first. Loud. You know, what the heck? There's something going on with... I need to NHSX. That work? Sorry. The Hindenburg is having trouble when I go to name the file. I start typing in the name and it jumps to the end of the file extension and finishes typing what I'm writing. So I type N and it puts in .nhsx and then it writes all this other junk at the end of it. I think I should learn logic. I really do. All right. Let's do a chapter mark here. That's a great idea. All right. Here.
Oh, do you have me back on Mimo versus Discord?
I do.
I'm going to go back. I forgot to do that. Okay.
And by the way, it sounds way better.
On Mimo?
On Mimo, yeah. So
okay.
It was your fans going off from... oh, wait a minute. No, I'm lying. I'm listening. I'm listening to Discord. Let me go back to... Okay, now talk to me again.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, somewhere between me turning you down and you turning off Time Machine. I'm real curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and take a peek at that.
All right. Yes, we will. Good luck.
We will. I'll invite you.
What's that?
I'll invite you over to take a look.
Okay, muting Steve. All right, here we go.
Al, I lost your audio. Can people in the chat room hear her? It was you. Okay. Time out. Bear with us. She is working her audio issues. We'll be right back. See what she's working on here.
Okay, how about now?
That's better.
Yeah, audio hijack. Just stop hijacking.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm glad you told me because I wasn't recording either. Because it wasn't working. Oh, that's nice, Jason. You might want to keep that one handy.
Yeah. There may be sausage tonight.
Oh, you just started getting crackly again.
Really?
Yeah.
Am I crackly in Discord?
No,
Is my
it got
audio
better.
breaking up?
It got better again.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to mute you and start recording here.
All right.
This week, I had Chris Ashley and Rod Simmons on the This week, I'm pleased to have This week, I had Chris Ashley and Rod Simmons on Chit Chat Across the Pond. Now, you may know these guys from the SMR podcast they do with Rob Dunwood, or you may remember them from their frequent appearances on Chit Chat Across the Pond by themselves to talk tech. Now, I had them on to talk about a very special topic, and I invited Steve to be on the show, too. They have a brand new podcast called Barbecue and Tech. Now, Steve is the one who is really enjoying the show because he's learning to barbecue from them through Barbecue and Tech, and I am just the beneficiary on the whole eating part. It was an absolute blast. These guys are hilarious together. They've known each other forever and ever, literally since they were like 5 or 6 years old. And getting to hear them talk about how to barbecue and the tech behind barbecuing was really, really fun. I'm afraid they might have spoiled some of their shows because they did teach us and talked a lot about the things that they've done. So in any case, you can check out their show at bbqandtech.com, but I highly recommend listening to Chit Chat Across the Pond 704, which of course you can find in your podcatcher of choice. I mean, look at that shot. I had several shots I could have chosen from. Thank you for the save. Let's go back here and let's get started. Whoop. Chapter mark. Copy link. Copy. It's magic.
We're good.
All right. Last week, I gave you a set of tiny tips from Helma about how to take advantage of the path bar in Finder windows. I explained that I used to use the proxy icon to drag into terminal windows to avoid typing in the path to a directory, and the path bar icon will give me back that functionality since we lost the proxy icon back in Big Sur. Well, to refresh your memory, at the top of every Finder window, actually, no, I ad-libbed it and I just snaked one of those things I was going to write. Last week, I gave you a set of tiny tips from Helma about how to take advantage of the path bar in Finder windows. I explained that I used to use the proxy icon to drag into terminal windows to avoid typing the path to a directory, and the path bar icon will give me back that functionality. To refresh your memory, at the top of every Finder window, you'll see the name of the current directory. Before macOS Big Sur, there was a tiny icon to the left called the proxy icon. In macOS Big Sur, Apple decided it would be way more awesome if they hid that icon and it only appeared if you hovered near the directory title or if you clicked on the title. The whole reason I'm bringing this up again is that shortly after I published the podcast episode, including this tip, my inbox and feeds were flooded with people telling me that Marco Arment had discovered a very hidden way to return the proxy icon to permanent status. Marco explained in a tweet that if you open up System Preferences and navigate to the Accessibility Preference pane and then select Display in the left sidebar, you'll see a checkbox that says Show Window Title Icons. Huzzah! Proxy icons are back. Now, I'll still be using Helma's pathbar tricks for some of the functionality, but having the proxy icon back at the top of the window is fantastic. And one reminder, this is only in macOS Monterey, so when you're done testing the waters to make sure it's safe, come enjoy our beloved proxy icons. Now, what's funny is the next tip makes all of this unnecessary, which is fun. Let's see. Miss any fun while I was yakking? I need all the tips. Yeah.
Yes, we are using Monterey. Both of us. In fact, we are doing the live show from Monterey.
Yeah, we did it last week. Dave just came right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I might change the order on this.
Okay.
I'm going to, because the next tip is about... No. Yeah, it would make more sense.
Okay.
I'm going to switch the order, so I'm going to go to the tiny tip next.
Got it.
Okay. Ooh. I got to fix that in Feeder, because... Fix, post, order, Feeder. Okay, with any luck, I'll remember that. Work just updated your laptop to Big Sur last week. Nice. Hello.
Is that you?
What the heck? Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still there. Looks like your
What
screen
happened from your side?
We just saw like the Monterey splash page. And for about
it's
a
like
second.
I just went into screensaver mode. I wonder if there's a hot corner
you might have a hot
that
corner
I don't know about.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me go get my chapter mark here. Copy link.
Changing orders shouldn't screw the count up.
Yeah,
but we should
but you never know. All right. So the beginning of this. What is this?
Is that Nick? That looks like the actual Nick Nolte.
Actually, you should see our granddaughter looks a lot like drunk Nick Nolte sometimes. See if you can find one of those photos.
I don't know if I want to do that.
I'm going to mute you. Okay, here we go. Well, speaking of that proxy icon and using it to drag into a terminal window, we got a tiny tip this week from Frank Voss that makes this actually not necessary at all. So I got to warn you, when I first started reading his idea, my first thought was, this is going to be way more complicated than just dragging the proxy icon to change directory into the same directory where I am in the Finder over in the terminal. But I got to tell you, when I got to the end of his tip, I realized that it's easy and it's magical when you're done. So the problem to be solved is that you have a Finder window open right where you need to work in terminal. At the top level, you're going to enter 4 lines into a script, save it with a name, give it a cute icon, and then drag it into the toolbar of the Finder window. After you're done, when you're in a folder in the Finder that you want to open in terminal, all you do is click that cute icon and boom, you're in terminal in that directory. Okay, so now that you know how easy it is, work with me here. First, he says, launch the script editor application. That's buried in application/utilities. By the way, I looked for Apple Script Editor, and that's not what it's called. I thought maybe it was, they didn't have it in Monterey anymore. So it's called Script Editor. Anyway, you enter 4 lines to get to the current path in Finder, open the terminal, and open that directory. Now, I'm not going to read it out here, but it basically just says, tell application finder set the directory to the path, and do a shell script that opens the terminal to that same path of that current directory, and then it says ntell. It is literally 4 lines in a script. All you got to do is copy and paste it into the script editor. So once you've entered that little bit of code, you can save it out of script editor as an application. Frank named his openterminal.app. Now, as a side note, Frank is from the Netherlands, and so his screenshots that are in the show notes are in Dutch. And I think that's really cool because by comparing my save as dialog box to his, I have learned that options is opties in Dutch. And even better, show startup screen is, let's see if I can get this, Toon openingsvenster. How fun is that? Well, anyway, back to Frank's instructions. He provided a cute blue icon file for us with the classic prompt logo on it. Now, I'm adding it to the show notes as a zip file because .icns files get weird sometimes when you need to send them around. You can use your own icon file or even a plain PNG if you're not comfortable downloading a zip from a website, even though I can tell you this one's going to be fine, but it's a good idea to always be careful. In any case, once you have the icon file you like, select your shiny new OpenTerminal app and select Get Info from the File menu. This will show you the generic script icon at the top. Drag your cute icon file on top of it, and now your app has that cute icon. The last step is what makes it really magical. Open any Finder window, hold down the Command key, and drag the app with its cute icon up into the Finder toolbar and drop it when it's positioned where you want it. Everything up there is going to kind of wiggle around until you let go. Ready to test? You can now click on the icon of the app that's available on every Finder window, and a terminal window will be instantly opened with the directory that's displayed in the Finder. I love Frank's tip because it took me maybe 30 seconds to set it up, and now I will forever have it available at my fingertips. And I learned a little bit of Dutch along the way. Thank you so much, Frank, for taking the time to figure this out, share it with us, and give us these detailed instructions. Is that cute?
That's a cool tiny tip.
Why is icon spelled without the O? That's an ICNS file. So an ICNS file is the one that has all the different colors. Like when you click it, it turns dark. You know, an ICNS file has a lot of different files, pictures in it. So that's why it's ICNS. So I'm excited. Rose is here. Hi, Rose.
Rose.
Yeah, if you ever open an ICNS file, they're kind of annoying because they've got just all these separate little images in there. I love that little tip. I think that made sense to do that right after the previous one.
Perfect for a tiny tip.
Yeah. And it was in Dutch. How fun is that? All right. Now for a long one. This is going to be me. This probably won't be a long show because I have a 26-minute interview coming up. But more Max musings. More M1 Max musings.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, really. All right. Okay. I don't know if I should explain the optional math.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, but I would.
Okay.
Eric Honka. Somebody new came in, Steve.
Oh.
Hello. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. Eric Onka.
Eric Onka. Well, welcome, Eric Onka.
Tell us if we're saying your name correctly, of course. I'll go with Eric. How exciting. All right. Steve muting. Here we go. I think if I do read that, where would I go? Right there. Okay. Last week, I gave you a few early musings on the M1 Max that Steve and I got, and this week I'd like to give you a few more of my musings. There's nothing super unexpected, but there's so many little things that have delighted me. I finally got a chance to do a couple of speed tests. Now, my baseline machine is a 2019 16-inch Intel quad-core i9 with 64 gigabytes of RAM, so no slouch on its own. The new machine is a 2021 M1 Max 14-inch with a 10-core CPU and 32-core GPU and 64 gigabytes of RAM. So the most impressive test was transcoding my latest video tutorial for Screencasts Online. The native ScreenFlow file was just under a terabyte, and I exported it to an MP4. The Intel machine took just under 19 minutes to transcode and export the file, and the M1 Max took a little under 9 minutes, so it went from 19 minutes down to 9 minutes. Now, if my ciphering is correct, that means the M1 Max was 114% faster than the Intel, or slightly more than twice as fast as the Intel. Now, if time is money for you, that's an impressive number. Now, a few people were asking after they read the blog post about this, how did I calculate the speed? And so I'm going to give you a math explanation because I know that David Roth would be really sad if I didn't do some math. So Steve and I actually sat down and talked about how you calculate the word faster. So, we both have masters in engineering, and yet it still took us about a half hour debating how to correctly calculate this. Now, we didn't just compare the times of the operations, because speed should be something per time, not just time. For the video rendering calculation, we worked with rendered the video in X time. So the math would then be that the Intel speed would be 1 over the time. No, that's too much math. For the video, something per time, not just time. Now, we didn't just Nope. Whoops. Now, we didn't just compare the times of the operations because speed should be something per time, not just time. When we looked at the video rendering calculations, actually, I bet I did that wrong. Math. So Steve and I actually sat down and talked about how you calculate the word faster. So, we both have masters in engineering. Per time, not just time. For the video rendering calculation, we worked with rendered the video in X time. So that's our operation per time. And so you actually end up having to take the inverse of how long everything took. So it'd be like 1 over 19 minutes and 1 over 9 minutes, and then compared the two of those in order to get that 114% faster. Okay, let's get into some more generic conversations about speed. A nice little surprise really is how fast applications launch. For the most part, they weren't slow before, but because they launch so quickly now, I gotta say I'm more likely to quit and reopen them than I am to just leave everything running. I always blamed my giant photos library, 86,260 as of the time that I wrote this up, for why photos took so long to launch. But on the M1 Max, it opens so fast that I don't mind quitting and reopening it. This got me to thinking, if you're trying to choose a configuration for a new M1 and you're waffling between RAM sizes, and the reason you want more RAM is because you like to keep a lot of apps running concurrently, maybe you don't need as much RAM if you can quit and reopen them super fast. If your RAM needs are because you run high-end application with giant files, then this observation obviously has no bearing on your decision. Now, the race for the slowest app to launch on my computers is between all of the Affinity products, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and Affinity Publisher. They're all up against Excel. Now, it's possible all of the Office 365 apps are just as slow, but I only install Excel, so I can't speak definitively on that. Affinity Designer launches 116% faster on the M1 Max than it did on the Intel, which matches pretty close to the 114% improvement in video transcoding observation. Now, here's the bad news. On the M1 Max, Affinity Designer still took 19 seconds to launch. That is a lot of dock bounces. Now, it's better than the nearly 39 seconds it took on my Intel machine, but still, that's way too long. I ran some tests with similar results on Affinity Photo, and I sent them to Serif, the makers of the Affinity products, asking them, what gives? I got a very quick and, more importantly, encouraging response back from Dan at Serif. He wrote, our developers have identified a change within macOS that started in Big Sur and has been carried to Monterey. This was a security change in Apple's system that affects how just-in-time, also known as JIT runtime apps, are checked. And Affinity currently uses the JIT runtime method. We're currently working to hopefully release a beta version shortly that will no longer use this method, and this should hopefully resolve the slow loading time of the apps for our customers. Okay, so while that's hopeful, it does bother me that they've gone over a year now with this abysmal launch time and have only now figured out, hopefully, how to fix it. I offered to beta test it, and hopefully they'll take me up on it. Now, while Affinity products did win the contest for slowest apps to launch, Excel did take an impressive second place. It takes 15 seconds to launch on the Intel Mac and around 7 seconds on the M1 Max. Now, that speed up with the M1 Max was 118% faster, which is curiously right in line with the other two measurements. But still, 7 seconds to launch on one of the fastest Macs on the planet? What gives, Microsoft? I wish I knew somebody there to write to. Well, there's another category of apps that is still really slow to launch, and that's some Electron apps. As you may already know, Electron is a technology to provide cross-platform support with essentially web apps. My observation on speed proves that it can be done well, it can be done okay, or it can be done poorly. 1Password is an example of how to do it right, because 1Password launches instantaneously on the M1, and all operations using the app are just lickety-split. They say it has something to do with their development using Rust, but all I know is it's speedy. Now, my development environment is Visual Studio Code, and it's pretty darn fast to launch as well. But GitKraken, one of the version control apps I use when coding, is like watching grass grow when you wait for it to finish opening up a repo. Now, I use Folge for documentation with screenshots and annotation and text, and it's kind of in the middle in terms of launch performance. It's not snappy, but I don't want to go take a walk around the block while I wait for it to launch either. Now, Joplin, my new favorite note-taking app, is a little sluggish, but it's okay. I can stand it. So there are good Electron apps, there are bad Electron apps. So blaming the technology alone is probably not valid. Maybe it's harder to do a good one, but it was interesting to me that switching to this new hardware didn't substantially affect the performance of the sluggish ones. All right, I'm going to take a little break here and get a drink of water. Have I missed anything exciting going on here?
Not too much,
now
but
Samurai.
With Excel, I think part of that long load time is the fact that we're using 365, and we're using an online version essentially. Even though I think it's loaded locally, there's some communication with the Excel servers.
Yeah. Somebody posted about that in Slack after I wrote this up, that they're using Excel, the standalone, and it's on a much, much older machine, and it launches instantly.
Yeah. And when I used to use Excel, I was using standalone, and I was getting a much better load time until I switched over to 365.
So is yours slow to launch too?
Yep, it is now. But
oh yeah, Jill can test it. How's your launch time, Jill?
Which one what do you have, Jill? Do you have standalone, or do you have 365?
I'm betting she's got 365.
365, yeah.
Yeah, and she's got a brand new 16-inch M1 Pro or M1 Max. What'd you end up getting? Oh, Kevin's got it too.
Proy. Right.
Cool.
Nick,
yeah,
you got
do a
Pro
timing
too?
test for us. Oh.
I should say Marty. It's just so easy with that picture staring at you.
I know. I want to call him Nick. I have trouble remembering Marty for him. When everybody's name is just something completely weird, then it works for me. Like Dudley, that's going to be Jason. You know that for sure. All right, muting Steve. Just call me drunk for short. That sounds good. I'll get that done. When Apple announced the new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, they went on and on and on about the new display. I don't know about you, but when they do that, my eyes kind of glaze over as they yammer on about 1,000 nits of sustained brightness, 1,600 nits of peak brightness, 10,000 mini LEDs, 1 million to 1 contrast ratio, and a billion colors. What I hear is blah, 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 blah. It's amazing. Well, to combat this spec fatigue, Apple is very good at coming up with marketing terms that are memorable. Remember years ago when they talked about going to higher resolution and our ears kind of glazed over as they described it, but then they called it Retina? We scoffed at the term at first, but the term really stuck, and we could tell at a glance what was a Retina display and what was not. During the Unleashed event, they referred to the display on the new M1 Pro and Max as Liquid Retina XDR. And that got me very excited because Liquid Retina XDR is what they call the very expensive Pro Display XDR. I was skeptical at these new laptops that they would really look as good as that. Now, I'm not a display fanatic, but since I have a Pro Display XDR, because my husband is crazy, I can make some comparisons. Remember buried in the stream of tech specs about the new MacBook Pros that they talked about nits of brightness and peak brightness? That's one place I can describe a difference to you. The 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro has 500 nits of brightness. The M1 Max has 1,000 nits of brightness. And if the display preferences are set to P3-1600 nits, that means it will go to a peak of 1600. Okay, that still sounds like a pile of specs. What is the real-world case where you would see the difference? The peak brightness is only reached on high dynamic range content, and it hits 1600 nits only on the highlights of the photo or video. Now, I brought up a photo I took with my iPhone 13 Pro on the Intel and M1 Max side by side. The image is of a water droplet on a leaf, and there's a bright area in the center of the water droplet. On the 14-inch M1, that area of light is far brighter than it is on the previous screen, and it looks kind of gray and bland on that 500 nit screen of the Intel machine. It doesn't look bad on the older screen, but it really pops on the new one. The effect is even more dramatic in video. If you have an iPhone 10 or later, you can capture and view HDR video. If you have your phone set to light mode, when you look at photos or videos that are not full screen, you'll see white bars on the sides or top and bottom. When you start playback of an HDR video, suddenly that video kind of pops out at you and gets super bright. The white bars will look like the phone actually turned them gray. In fact, it's your brain probably won't believe that they didn't get darkened, but it's an optical illusion because the white parts of your video playback are just so much brighter. The same effect happens now on the M1 Pro Max, M1 Pro and Max Mac displays. The other day I was in our dimly lit TV room and I brought up an HDR video I had taken on the iPhone, but I brought it up on my new Mac and it lit up the entire room. I am not joking. I saw the light go everywhere. It was so bright. I showed Steve the effect, flipping from some normal photos in my library to this HDR video, and he was amazed at the brightness as well. Now, I was hoping to report on how amazing ProMotion is on the new Mac. That's Apple's marketing term for an adjustable refresh rate up to 120 Hz. I sat there for quite a while, scrolling up and down on both of my laptops side by side, and I gotta tell you, I couldn't tell the difference. It wasn't until Saturday that I found out that according to 9to5Mac, most apps don't support ProMotion yet, including Safari, which is what I was using to try to tell the difference. Now, I still have a dollar that says I won't be able to tell the difference even when it is available on Safari. What I should notice on the new M1 Max is the higher screen resolution. It went from 227 pixels per inch up to 254 ppi. But even with my bionic human-made lens eyes, I still can't tell the difference. The Pro Display XDR is only 218 ppi, but I can't see the difference in jagged edges on crisp text between the 2019 16-inch, the XDR, and the 2021 14-inch. Maybe I'm just not worthy of these displays. One minor place where the M1s outperform in the display area is how quickly they can change display preferences. If you connect a second display to your Mac, you'll often want to rearrange the positioning of the displays with respect to each other. On an Intel Mac, when you drag one representation of a display to a new position and let go, both of the displays will turn black for a second, maybe even longer, and then they come back in their new position. With an M1, the regular M1, the Pro, or the Max, there is simply no black screen blink. It just changes the positions. The first time I did it, I had only made a minor adjustment, and I thought it didn't work because I didn't see it turn black. I know this isn't a huge deal, but how many times have you had the displays arranged almost correctly, but you put up with a corner where your cursor didn't slide over and it would get stuck just because the process of fixing it was a little bit annoying. One of the more minor upgrades with the Pro Max configurations is the new camera system. While it only went from 720p to 1080p, Apple touted it as a much bigger improvement than the resolution alone would imply. The new camera system has a wider aperture combined with a larger image sensor, both of which mean it should have better low light performance. With more light, it should get less noise in the image. Now, you can identify noise by it's that smudgy look you can get in darker areas, and you'll see it in weird looking colored dots where a single color surface should be seen. Additionally, Apple said in their press release, I'll get this right yet. Apple's custom image signal processor, along with the neural engine, uses computational video to enhance image quality for sharper video and more natural looking skin tones on the built-in camera. Well, it was time for a comparison of the cameras on my two laptops. As a quick test, I set up my studio lighting and I took the same photo with my 2019 16-inch Intel MacBook Pro and my M1 Max, both using Photo Booth as the application to take the photo. There's no question that the new camera system and associated signal processing is dramatically better. The exposure is much better on the new camera, allowing you to see fine details in my hair along with the varied colors of my hair from dark brown to auburn to gray. The older camera only captured a continuous brown blob with one gray highlight. Sadly, both cameras seemed equally capable at capturing the wrinkles in my neck and face. The vertical blinds behind me in the photo should be a rather continuous tan color, but the older camera is very noisy in the form of lots of purple and green dots. You can also see that same color noise in the chair back behind me. The new camera more accurately captured the color tone as well. In the older camera, my blue shirt is dark and saturated, which might be a pleasing color to some, but it's not the true color of my shirt. The older camera shows the right side of my face with a dark shadow, but the new camera adapted much better to the slightly off-center balance of my lighting setup, leaving my face far less shadowed. Now, when Bart looked at these photos, he also pointed out something I hadn't even noticed the first time. There's a light behind me, and in the older camera, it's just completely blown out. It looks like a square with bright light on it. And in the second photo from the new camera, you can actually see kind of a gradation of light within the lampshade. So it's definitely getting better dynamic range as well. So across the board, I would say the new camera, while only 1080p, is a massive improvement. Now, I've been lucky enough to have Touch ID on my MacBook Pro for the last couple of years, but it hasn't been as reliable as I would have hoped. I've always assumed it was because I have relatively dry fingers, so a slight lick of my finger would allow me to actually unlock my Mac, unlock one password, and sometimes it would even allow me to authenticate for Apple Pay. I did find myself using my Apple Watch to unlock and pay because it was much more reliable. Now, I'm not sure what they did differently on Touch ID for the new Macs because they didn't really tout it, but so far, it has been a lick-free experience. One time in the last few weeks, it didn't respond the first time I tried it, and even then, I didn't have to lick. I just tried it again and it worked. It's so reliable now that I authenticate with Touch ID faster than I can on my Apple Watch, so that's been my authentication method of choice. Speaking of the keyboard, I truly love it. I was a big fan of the very last butterfly keyboard Apple put into their laptops. 2 years and 11 months into AppleCare on my 2016 MacBook Pro, the battery swelled and broke the keyboard and trackpad, so Apple had to repair it at their expense. The keyboard they supplied me in October of 2019, so it's a 2016 MacBook Pro, but it had the October 2019 keyboard. It was fantastic. I actually wasn't a big fan of the scissor switch keyboard they introduced in 2019 because it took a lot more effort to push the keys. Now, keyboards are very personal preference, so I am not saying the keyboard on the 14-inch MacBook Pro is better than the keyboards on the other ones, but I personally prefer it to the 2019. I find I'm choosing to type directly on it more often, even when I have my beloved Magic Keyboard sitting right next to it. Now, there's one more delight with the keyboard. There's a dedicated emoji key, just like on iOS keyboards. Maybe emoji don't blow your dress up, but I'm trying to be like the cool kids and use them from time to time. Now, I find the one I use most frequently is the facepalm emoji every time I do something dumb. I found it very tedious before to scroll through the emoji to find the right one on my 2019 MacBook Pro, even with Touch Bar there to help. Now, I did notice something else interesting. With my Magic Keyboard connected over Bluetooth to the new MacBook Pro, just instinctively I hit the function key on that keyboard, and it brought up the functionality of emoji. So it's actually the function key on both that does give you the emoji keyboard. So I thought that was really an interesting little effect, just a surprise that I found. Now, on my previous Mac, I installed a great little app that you might want to look into called Rocket, and that let me use a trigger character and then start an inline search for emoji. I also experimented with using the keyboard viewer and switching to emoji, but that was a little bit tedious. Now with a new Mac, I can hit the emoji key and it automatically launches the keyboard viewer right to emoji search, so I can instantly type in the nerdy glasses emoji whenever I need it. That makes the price of the new MacBook Pro totally justifiable, am I right? Well, this next bit has nothing to do with the model of computer I moved to, but more about the process of moving to a new computer. You know, I'm a big fan of the nuke and pave process around once a year just to clean out cruft, and I always do a pure pave when I go to a new computer. By pave, I mean don't use Migration Assistant to move over my apps and settings, and in my case, I don't even let it move my data. I drag my data over manually. Doing a clean pave on your first Apple Silicon Mac is really important because the last thing you'd want to do is bring over a bunch of Intel native apps when universal versions that run natively on the M1 architecture probably exist. You could end up running the Rosetta 2 emulation mode when you could have the light speed of a native app. Sure, you can upgrade after you move, but that means leaving cruft around and wasted effort trying to figure out which ones can be native. Now, as always, I've been using my mind map of doom, trademark Donald Burr, to install all of my apps from scratch and do all of my configuration changes to get things exactly the way I like them. I know this takes a long time, but it helps me know my system inside and out. I do a lot of weird stuff on my Mac, so it takes longer than it would for normal people, but I still really enjoy the process. Okay, I'm going to stop and save. Can you guys hear Tesla snoring back here? Tesla, wake up. Quit snoring. Did I miss anything, Steve? Ooh, the IBM 3090 terminal. Was it super clicky? You can't hear her. Okay, good.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. Let's see. Kevin did bring up
151 new message. Sorry?
Kevin did bring up that he wasn't sure if you did a chapter mark on the previous recording or the beginning of this one, possibly.
I did. You can see it on the screen, can't you?
Not at this. Let me blow it up. Yes, there it is. I see two. There must be some above that we don't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I change it, it'll be anarchy.
Okay. Well, good. Just wanted to verify.
So you guys can do that too. You can look.
It's too hard to see it when it's an inset. I have to blow it up, and I didn't want to do that while you were talking.
Why? It's more interesting than looking at me talk, isn't it?
No.
Good answer. All right. My throat's getting creaky.
Do you need a drink?
Not yet. I'll stick with water till my reward for finishing is I get to have my medicine.
All right.
The main reason I don't even use Migration Assistant to move my data is because of my giant photos library that I mentioned earlier. I'm following a process developed with the help of Apple Sport many years ago. I used to drag my photos library over to the new Mac, but then iCloud Photo Library would have to check every single photo to see if it had the original yet. The checking process takes far more time than the download process. This would take more than 3 weeks, and more importantly, it would not import any new photos I took with my iPhone during that entire 3+ weeks. Apple taught me not to drag the library over, but instead to simply start with optimized images. When that's complete in a day or two, why did I study on that? Where am I? When that's complete in a day or two, they told me then turn on full-sized images. With good bandwidth, this is a fire hose of file downloads. This takes the 3-week process down to a matter of days. This time through the process, the optimized image downloads seem to take longer than it has in the past. It's It's kind of tricky these days to figure out how to force the Mac to stay awake 24/7, which has contributed to the longer than expected download time. There is no energy saver preference pane, so I'm learning the new battery preference pane with only limited success. I did get all of the optimized images down in about 5 days, which is longer than I liked. I can live with it since I can play with my library while it churns away in the background. If I need an old photo, I can still scroll to the time period where I think the image is and start clicking on the blank squares to force specific images to come down. I've switched to the full-size image download in iCloud Photo Library Preferences, and they started coming down very quickly as expected. It should have been done in the usual 3 days, but it seems to have stalled late on the second day, and it hasn't been changing, so now I get to diagnose that pesky problem. I got it to start up again by rebooting, but it seems to have paused again. It's almost exactly halfway through, so that should keep me entertained for a little bit, don't you think? Well, the bottom line is that I'm still besotted with this new Mac, and I'm so very glad that I downsized to 14 inches. I carried around the house so much more than I ever did the 16-inch just because it's so light and small. Because I have a big screen to attach to when I need real estate, I literally do not miss the 16-inch size at all. I love typing on it, so it's stealing time from my beloved 12.9-inch iPad Pro as my couch device too. Now here's a bonus prize. I used to have to very carefully position my 16-inch on the 12th South stand on my desk so that the boom arm of my bike didn't crash into the top of it when I swung it in position. With the 14-inch, I've got a good 3 inches of clearance, so I don't have to be quite so careful. I have literally not found one single thing to dislike on the new Mac and everything to love about it.
Besotted. You're besotted with the Mac. I think
I
you're
am
reading. Are you reading those romance novels again?
No, those have words like heaving.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we won't get into those.
No. Okay.
That was a long one.
It was.
A lot of musings.
It was exciting, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You have to do a report on your tests, but you have not figured out why your tests are weird.
Yeah, very strange.
Steve says his new machine is slower than his old one.
So just to give you a heads up in the chat room, I'm comparing render speeds, compression speeds for videos done on my Intel iMac and my new MacBook Pro Max, right? Is that how we're saying it these days?
No, it's not good. Well, Max MacBook Pro.
Max MacBook Pro. Okay, that is confusing. But anyway, you would think with its multiple cores and the new Apple Silicon, it should be screaming. It should be quite a bit faster, and I'm not finding that to be the case. So, but part of it is because the resulting videos turn out different in size, and I'm now having to go play with settings to make them same. I don't know why, because I'm using the same compressor settings for both. So
I think I need to look at your settings and
would like
quiz
that.
you.
You should.
What's that?
Sometimes you just need a second opinion. Another
2
set
eyes.
of eyes.
4 eyes?
4 eyes are better than 2, yes.
Thanks, Mike. I will do. I took that screenshot out, and I will go in and do caffeinate. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Because man, I'm just fighting it. I've told it to not go to sleep when the display goes to sleep. I mean, if I leave the display to never go to sleep, then that works. But that means that leaves my big display on because that's how I plug it into power, but I could do it separate on power. So, I like caffeine. That'll be better. I'll do that. Plus the terminal. Yay. And I have a button to open the terminal.
Kevin, you're more than welcome to drive out and assist me anytime. I would love it.
All right. I'm going to spam the audience now. I'd like to take a pause in celebrating our longtime patrons to give a big high five to Greg H. Greg has been supporting the show through Patreon for 2.5 years at a generous amount, but this week he actually increased his pledge. That means so much to me because it means he actively thought about the value of the content he gets through the Podfeed podcast, and he thought to himself, you know what? That's worth even more than I thought. How cool is that? If you'd like to increase your support like Greg H., or just start showing your support, please head on over to podfeed.com/Patreon and sign up to help the show. Oh, that's funny.
What?
My title's gotten messed up. Oh gosh. Okay, this is awesome. So I have a keystroke that invokes my Keyboard Maestro macro that launches all my apps. It does all this stuff, and one of the things it does is it activates the HomeKit automation called It's Showtime. Somehow it has replaced the title of this next my next link with It's Showtime. So you see right here these 4 hashes, and it says It's Showtime. So now I got to go find what it used to say.
It used to say interview with Pazio, no blog post.
Yeah, so I think I copied it into Feeder before I broke it. So I should be able to find it here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, that is funny. So I think I got to watch what's active when I hit that. Hit that. Okay. I am going to, so this part, I'm just going to kick right in. Oh, so I'll put in a chapter mark.
Good idea.
But it's just going to be called that. But I'll put in gts::pazio.com. All right. There we go.
What about that name on the left? Interview with no blog post?
Oh, I took out the, thank you. I took out the URL from the middle of it. So there you go.
All right.
You like that better?
Much better.
Okay. Now where's the file? Nope. Pazio, there it is. Okay.
No intro?
I don't think so, because I do an intro in in there.
Okay. You got a plink in there?
I think that's just noise on it. Looks like noise to me. Did you notice I got Chris to do a plink? I didn't end up using it.
Yes.
Okay, that might be too quick. Let's see how this sounds. Sign up to help the show. This week I attended. Too soon.
Yep.
Take a breath.
Too soon.
It's also loud. Sign up to help the show. This week, I attended the fall version of PepCom, and I had the great pleasure of meeting Dave Nichol, CEO of a company called Pazio, and they have some really interesting products that I think solve a real problem. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks, Allison. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, we like to start with the problem to be solved here, and that's exactly where you started your pitch to me during PepCom. So why don't you tell me, what problem are you attacking here?
Yeah, at a high level, just for...
I think he's got some noise on here that I'm going to take care of. Okay, watch this magic button. Let's go full screen on that. Watch this. I hit this effects button. I click here, and I go to noise reduction. And I'm going to hit play here, and it's just going to take care of it. Were you attacking here?
Yeah, at a high level, just for some context, I think that the thing to think about is for folks have been afforded all kinds of...
So when you see it go, listen to it when it goes right across there, you're not hearing the noise that was there before.
To think about is for folks have been afforded all kinds of convenience through smart technology, whether that be listening devices such as smart speakers, smartphones, and our ability to voice interact with the internet and get all kinds of interesting information and data in real time seamlessly has been a great convenience.
Is that light gray in between his sentences the noise that's been reduced, or light blue?
Light blue? That noise, yeah, if I didn't have this on, if I turned that off, you'd hear noise like a hiss between there.
So it's kind of showing us the what would have been there had you not reduced noise.
Right. So right now I've got it turned off. Listen in between the gaps.
And data in real time.
It was actually his breath going.
Yeah. So that's reducing
data
that.
in real.
Yeah.
Here, listen.
Mm-hmm.
and data in real
But when I turn it on,
and data in real time seamlessly has been a great convenience. I'm a huge fan of it. I enjoy it a lot. The other side of that coin is it's done at the expense.
question is, does it get rid of this stuff at the beginning?
So you can kind of see a light
Thanks,
blue
Allison.
level.
Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, we like.
You can see a light blue level and a dark blue level. It looks like it's reduced it from the light to the dark blue levels.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's just. I'm not sure why it is light and dark. A good question. Takes a little while to get started now.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually cut that because he takes forever to come in, and I don't want people to. Jill. I noticed something really cool. Jill uses this software. So one of the problems I have is like right now I want to cut this, but I want it to cut both tracks. So I was always going up here and then selecting that one and to get both tracks. But it turns out if you just kind of drag up as you select, it selects it on both tracks. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go like this. I just figured that out. Hope Jill saw that because I was so excited. I wanted Jill to see it.
She sees
You see the difference? So if I just drag from here to here, it just selects on this track. But if I sort of drag up as I'm going, it drags both of them.
The old up drag.
I was very excited. Let's see. Tell me, what problem are you attacking here?
Yeah, at a high level, just for some context, I think that the thing to think about is for folks have been afforded all kinds of.
All right. So he gets better. He fumbles around a little bit at the beginning, but he gets into the rhythm. So this is
Did you just put your cells out of sync by? Oh, you cut both of them out equally.
No, the point of the up drag was to not put us out of sync.
Right.
Yeah. So can you find any photos of the thing that I'm gonna explain here? This is a really, really cool set of products. It's a device that you take like an Amazon Echo or a here's a Google Home for demonstration purposes. Oh, wait. Yeah. Wait, can you guys see me? No, I'll make it be all me. So this device, you slide your Google Home or your Echo Dot or your HomePod into a device, and it jams the microphones with audio. It floods it so that it can't listen. It literally can't listen to you when it's inside this thing. So yeah, the picture on the left there, that's the one that's for something like an Amazon Echo or the Google Home, and the Posio has a wake word. So you call it Karen, and you say, "Hey Karen, let me talk," or something like that. I forget what the words are, but that makes the Posio allow the device inside to listen, and it can only listen for 30 seconds, and then it closes itself off again. And the Posio is not connected to the internet. It's not connected to anything. It is connected to power, and that's it. So you don't have to trust Posio. It's just a dumb device that's flooding it with sound. The little dock there that he's got the phone in is a the dock. If you could scroll past that toilet, the dock that the phone is sitting in, you just set your phone in. It charges the phone and it blocks the audio input from it. And they've got a version for kids where it blocks everything. It's really cool. They've got a business thing as well, and it's really, really cool. I think it's gonna be super nifty. That gives us a nice long show. All right, here we go. Muting Steve. I can't. Oh yeah, that is all. Okay. Previous coworkers about this. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Allison. Really great to be here. Have a great day.
Well, I thought that was really, really interesting, and I've never heard of anything like that. So I really hope them the best of success. And I think if that's something you're interested in, want some privacy, this is going to be a great product. But this is going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, just send it on over. I've left Facebook still, so maybe it's permanent. And so if you want to follow what I'm doing, Twitter is a good place to follow me online @podfeed. Better yet, join our Slack community. It's a great place, podfeed.com/Slack, because you can talk not just to me, but all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways, and it is hopping in there. Since I left Facebook, we're getting more and more people in there, so it's becoming even more fun. Now remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can support the show by going to podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show like Eric did for the first time this week, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Oh, and I'm not sure if you were watching the chat room.
That wasn't Eric's first time? Mike says Eric's first time again.
Is it? But also Eric defined what Anka is. It's Ontario, Canada.
Oh, Eric, Ontario, Canada.
Now, maybe Eric's been on before but used a different name, because I don't recall
he said he was here before.
Eric
Oh,
Anka.
well. Well, you get a shout out. It's been a while.
Yeah, shout out again.
You always remember your first time. All right. Well, now we know what your thing means. We'll see if I can remember it there, though.
Yeah.
Maybe if the CA was capitalized. Well, he gets a shout out. We haven't seen him in a while. Lovely
it doesn't
to see
hurt
you again,
to shout out people every once in a while.
Yeah.
Even if it's again.
I have been known to introduce people who know each other, like have known each other for years, but, introduced them to each other in person. It's like me. Okay, how's this sound? Castaways, thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Oh, you've never been on Discord, so maybe it was so far back it was before we used Discord.
Oh,
I think Kevin wants a chapter mark. I see 5 lights. She introduced Steve as the first time.
5 lights. I see 5 chapter marks.
Good. Including Posio?
Including Posio.
Okay, good. All right. Well, look at it. It's 6:01.
Wow.
It is time to export.
Good timing. Yes. Let's wrap this.
Dang it. I forgot to talk about the export from Hindenburg. I swear, I wrote that one up. Oh, well. Hindenburg exports really fast, too.
In fact, are you going to need more input next week? Since we're going to be...
input. Yeah, we're going to be away. Probably should have done a shout-out, huh?
Well, you can do a midweek shout-out.
Yeah, because we're going to be taking care of the grandkids. So if anybody has content for next week, got a little tip, got something they want to talk about, a new gadget, that would be awesome. Whatever you got. Thank you, Eric from Ontario, Canada. All right, I think I am set. Ooh, yep. Jill says, Jill's always good for something. All right, Steve. Goodbye, Rose.
You're going to take us
out, Steve.
All right, cutting the stream.